The Where Our Minds Wander podcast may contain sensitive content and explicit language. Listener discretion is advised. Greetings, fellow wanderers, to the places our minds wander.
The house at the end of the dirt road, where disembodied voices whisper and strange sounds make the living shiver.
Where shadows lurk at the edge of the woods, just outside your back door. And mysterious lights speed beyond reason across the clear night sky.
Odd events throughout time that lead you down the rabbit hole.
I'm Wes.
And I'm Beth.
And this is Where Our Minds Wander. Hello and welcome to Where Our Minds Wander, all you fellow wanderers. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, everybody.
Well, it's been a pretty good week. Can't complain. Finally passed my kidney stone. One of them still hanging out my kidney. But hell, one down, one to go. And I'll tell you what, I put it inside a little plastic container where everybody can see it. Put it on the table.
The living room table.
That's right.
Yes.
And when everybody comes over, I'm going to tell them it's a meteorite fragment.
I love when the people so far that we've had over have looked at it and been like, I don't know what it is. Is it a rat poop?
It's gnarly looking.
Is it?
It looks like a piece of ore.
It looks like a tiny little geode is what it looks like.
I think I'm going to call it Little Bastard.
We should get one of those little official-looking little tape things to put on it that says...
I thought about it.
Yeah.
But it's there for everyone to see.
Yes. And speaking of seeing, we got to go someplace pretty amazing.
That we did.
Past week.
Yes.
We didn't mention it last week during the episode. I specifically didn't mention that we were going because I was afraid if we had to cancel that we wouldn't be able to tell everybody about it. So we did go to the Bowman Mansion, Laurel Glen, in Cuttingsville, Vermont. And we did an episode on Laurel Glen and the mausoleum. Gosh, I don't even know what episode it was. It was a while ago. But we got a private tour from Freddie and Ed, and they were fantastic tour guides.
They were awesome people.
Yeah.
I enjoyed talking to them as much as I did going through the mansion itself, which was spectacular. Everyone must go there and see it.
Yes. If you're thinking it sounds a little familiar, it's the mausoleum across the street has the life-sized marble statue of Mr. Bowman ascending the stairs into the mausoleum where his family is. So it's pretty amazing. Although I do have to say that Freddie did talk to me about his ideas of, his meaning Mr. Bowman's, ideas on reincarnation and reanimation, because we had talked about that during the episode. And she said that she had gone through his papers, and although he did give money to maintain the house and the mausoleum in perpetuity, it does not say that he expected it to be kept in readiness for his family.
What she's saying is they did not prepare meals every single night for the family that he was hoping to reanimate or resurrect.
Or rejoin.
Right.
Right. So she said somewhere along the way, somebody invented that word or inserted that word into the story, and the legend kind of took off on its own. But she did say that during his lifetime, spiritualism was very popular, so he would have been knowledgeable about seances and reincarnation and things like that, but that there's no evidence that he personally believed that that was going to happen.
Right. But here's the thing. Although people made this up and it's spread all over the internet, in a way, it's kind of good because it made a lot of people want to go see the place.
Right. And that's what they need.
Yes.
They need money to keep this mansion going.
So sometimes misinformation is a good thing.
It can be.
And
unless you're telling people that come over that your kidney stone is a meteorite.
there's nothing wrong with that because they'll look closer at it. If you tell them it's a kidney stone right away, they're going to say, can you move it to the other side of the table?
Can you put it in the other room away from my drink?
But it's on the living room table, which has all kinds of cool stuff on it.
Right.
So, I mean, it fits right in.
It does kind of fit in.
And let people believe what they want to believe. I'm not going to tell them it's a kidney stone. Unless they want to take it out and like inspect it, I might say something then.
You might not want to touch that since it came from out of my body.
And into the toilet. But I washed it. Dawn dish detergent. If it's good enough to get the oil off the ducks.
It's good enough for anything.
To get urine off a kidney stone.
Oh my goodness. Well, we have a great episode for you tonight.
That we do. But for the people who haven't heard the Bowman episode, do you remember what episode number it was?
No, I should have looked, and I didn't. I can't remember if it's 62 or 162 or 201. I can't remember.
Oh, you are not prepared.
I know.
Well, all I can say is go back and look, and it's somewhere under the Bowman.
It's not. It would be under
Museum.
Laurel. No, it's under Laurel Glen.
Oh, that's correct.
Yes.
You do remember that?
Yes.
Because I don't.
Before I forget my story tonight, should I get started?
Yeah, I'm just sitting here.
Okay.
Entertain me.
All right. I will try very hard. There was a time when people used to make a day out of going to the local cemetery. They'd pack a picnic lunch, jump into their carriage, and let their horse lead the way. Families would pick a quiet, lovely spot, surrounded by headstones, and just enjoy the day. Children would play hide and seek in the sunshine. Young lovers might sneak off for a little alone time. Picnicking in the cemetery became popular in the late 19th century for a few reasons. First, diseases like cholera, TB, and typhoid were rampant. So being out in the fresh air with a group of people was far safer than being stuffed into a tiny parlor. Secondly, public parks weren't all that common. And so if there was a cemetery nearby that wasn't part of a churchyard, it was likely to be landscaped and cared for like a public park. But as the trend grew, it eventually became a problem, according to atlasobscura.com. For example, one author in Denver wrote that, quote, thousands strew the grounds with sardine cans, beer bottles, and lunch boxes.
Sardine cans?
Apparently that was popular in the 1800s for a picnic.
Well, I think we should bring this back anyways.
I do too.
Because, first of all, you bring your children to the graveyard. They learn to show some respect, and perhaps they won't grow up to vandalize headstones.
Yes.
Because it's becoming a problem.
Yes.
We're seeing so many broken headstones and people just tagging them.
Mm-hmm.
They need to grow up.
Yes.
They need to be showing some respect.
Yeah. By the 1920s, graveyard picnics began to lose popularity when more public parks were created in cities and towns. Plus, medical advancements meant that fewer people were dying at a young age. And so there was less reason to go visit the cemeteries on a regular basis. But today, cemeteries offer all kinds of interesting things to look at, especially the symbolism on early headstones from the 17 and 1800s. If you've ever seen a hand carved into a headstone with a single finger pointed downwards, you might wonder if somebody was saying the deceased soul was headed somewhere not very nice. But that isn't the case at all. If you see a hand with a finger pointed downwards, the hand is meant to represent the hand of God, welcoming the person into heaven. A hand with a single finger pointed skywards reminds the living to look towards the heavens.
Well, that depends on what finger it is.
It's the pointer finger. I took a bunch of kids on a trip to a cemetery nearby this past year, and we did see a headstone with a single finger pointed downwards, and that's what the kids were all asking me. Does that mean they thought the person was going to hell?
Well, at least they were interested.
Yes. Two hands clasped together was also a popular motif. It symbolized that a spouse or other family member who passed away first is guiding the more recently deceased partner into heaven. Then there's the columns that you regularly see. A broken column represents a life cut short. A complete column represents a full life lived into old age. Chains carved into a headstone are also somewhat common, since in medieval times it was believed that a person's soul was bound to its earthly body by a golden chain. A broken chain on a headstone simply means that the person's spirit has been set free of its physical body. If you take a stroll through your local cemetery today, you might find some pretty interesting inscriptions, which, if you're like Wes and I, can lead you down a rabbit hole of research into who that person was. Now, there's one in our area in the Catholic cemetery near Fort Brown in Plattsburgh, and it reads, "Regretted to the memory of Owen O'Neill, died July 4th, 1874, aged 37 years and 27 days, from the parish of Gregan County of Armagh, Ireland." The epitaph says, "Weep not for me, my family dear, a murdered man is sleeping here, who knows that God, the just, the true, will give the murderer all his due. Request in peace erected by his wife, Catherine O'Neill." So, a murdered man. Well, of course, there has to be a story behind that inscription, and there is. Owen O'Neill was found one morning in West Beekmantown, dead between his wagon wheel and wagon box. The man had gone home drunk from Plattsburgh the morning before and had fallen between the wheel and box and was thus killed. His wife insisted that a man named Peter Leonard, with whom O'Neill had had some difficulty, had murdered her husband. Leonard was examined and found completely innocent. The wife did not believe it to be true. Intriguing gravestones are everywhere, like the one of Joseph Palmer in Leominster, Massachusetts. The marble stone is carved with the kind and rather happy-looking face of a man with a rather impressive beard. Under the carving is written, quote, "Persecuted for wearing the beard." According to Atlas Obscura, Joseph Palmer began wearing a beard in the 1820s, even though it was considered very out of fashion. For some reason, his beard growing upset his neighbors and added to their negative opinion of him as being slovenly and ungodly. The local preacher even accused him of consorting with the devil, to which Palmer responded, quote, "If I remember correctly, Jesus wore a beard."
Good for him.
I know. In 1830, Palmer was outside a hotel in Fitchburg when he was attacked by 4 men armed with razors and scissors, who were intent on shaving his beard off for him. Palmer pulled a pocket knife and stabbed 2 of them. Palmer found himself arrested for assault, and instead of paying a fine, he argued that he had every right to wear a beard if he wanted to. Authorities threw him in jail for 15 months, some of which he spent in solitary confinement.
He was only defending himself.
I know. They attacked him first.
Over a beard.
Yeah.
Who'd have thunk it?
I know. Now, here's the doubly interesting thing. Palmer was actually friends with writer Louisa May Alcott. She actually based a character on him named Moses White. After his release from prison, he traveled to Harvard, where he joined the Fruitlands Utopian community. The Utopian community was actually co-founded by Bronson Amos Alcott, Louisa May's father, and she spent some time there as well. Community members began their day with a purging cold water shower and were strict vegans, not even drinking milk or eating honey. According to Wikipedia, quote, "Neither coffee, tea, molasses, nor rice tempts us beyond the bounds of indigenous production. No animal substances, neither flesh, butter, cheese, eggs, nor milk pollute our tables, nor corrupt our bodies." Their diet was usually fruit and water, because many vegetables, including carrots, beets, and potatoes, were considered of a lower nature since they grew downward and they were forbidden. Fruitlanders wore only linen clothes and canvas shoes and refused to use animals in their farming techniques in any way. After the demise of the community, Palmer actually bought the land and lived on it until his death in 1865. He commissioned his likeness to be carved upon his tombstone, wearing his full beard for eternity. Good for him.
I love it.
Isn't that a great story?
It is. But that's what going to your local cemetery can reveal.
Right.
I mean, it's a great place to take the kids and go for walks because it's nature. And there's wildlife in the cemeteries too. You know, you got your rabbits, your chipmunks, your squirrels.
Right.
Your groundhogs. And there's just so much to look at.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just as good as taking them to the mall or, you know, to the museum. There's so much to see there. You never know what you're going to find in your local cemetery.
I know. Now, England, of course, has its fair share of intriguing headstones, like that of Malmesbury barmaid Hannah Twinoy. According to a BBC article, in 1703, a traveling menagerie came to town and set up shop in the White Lion Tavern's yard. Despite being warned, Hannah got a kick out of poking the caged tiger with a stick. One day, when the cage wasn't properly locked, Hannah poked the tiger for the last time. The annoyed cat escaped the cage and mauled her to death. Her epitaph reads, "In bloom of life she's snatched from hence. She had not room to make defense. For tiger fierce took life away, and here she lies in a bed of clay until the resurrection day."
That's awesome. I think they should have carved it where they showed her like standing back with her arms up in the air, trying to like fight off the tiger. The tiger's mauling her.
I've heard, don't poke a bear, a sleeping bear, but
in this case, it's a tiger.
Yeah, don't poke tigers with sticks. Another random gravestone in Winchester, England, actually inspired Bill Wilson to create Alcoholics Anonymous. The gravestone reads, "Here sleeps in peace a Hampshire grenadier, who caught his death by drinking cold small beer. Soldiers be wise from his untimely fall, and when you're hot, drink strong or none at all. The man, 26-year-old Thomas Fetcher, had been a grenadier in the North Regiment of the Hants Militia in 1764. One day, when he was very hot and thirsty, he grabbed some weak beer. Beer was safer to drink than water at the time and was often drunk when there wasn't any water around. But in this case, it killed poor Fetcher. In 1918, American soldier Bill Wilson was camped out near the cemetery when he noticed the unique epitaph. 21 years later, he founded Alcoholics Anonymous, claiming that although he had read the tombstone, he had ignored its warning. Every year on May 12th, by the way, there's supposedly a tradition where Winchester locals gather at Fetcher's grave and drink strong beer in honor of the fallen soldier. The third English gravestone that I want to mention is in St. Anne's Churchyard in Woodplumpton. It's simply a boulder inscribed with her name, Meg Shelton. Meg's story is both fascinating and kind of sad. According to a BBC article, Meg was known as the Field Hag and was accused of witchcraft in the late 1600s. Her crimes were stealing milk and turning herself into an animal, including a rabbit. One story, according to LancasterCastles.org, is that a farmer set his dog after a rabbit one day, except the rabbit was so fast that the dog could barely keep up. The dog chased the rabbit right to Meg Shelton's front door, managing to give the rabbit a nip on the leg before it disappeared inside her cottage. From that day forward, the field witch had a limp. They didn't hang her or burn her, though. Instead, she died under mysterious circumstances. Allegedly, she was crushed between the wall of her cottage and a wooden barrel. She was buried in an unmarked grave, but legend says she would dig her way out every once in a while. So, locals dug her back up and placed her head down in a new, narrowly dug shaft and placed the boulder over top. To this day, legend says that if you walk 3 times around the boulder and say, "I don't believe in witches," 3 times, her bony hand will rise up through the earth and grasp your ankle.
I wonder how many people go and do that.
Probably
a lot.
More than we would think.
I bet there's a bare spot around that stone.
So, I found a few stories about Meg online, all about her alleged witchcraft abilities, but unfortunately I couldn't find any true accounts of who she was or why she was persecuted so horribly by the locals. But if you live in New England, here in the U.S., you can find similar graves, or at least you could back in the late 1800s. This one is also local to us, although I'm positive it's been lost to time at this point. This account comes from the journals of a local doctor named David S. Kellogg, who wrote this down in 1898. In the town of Willsboro lived an old woman who was said to be a witch. She was small, wiry, and her gray hair was all flying and never combed. They used to tell me when I did not comb my hair that it looked like this woman's. She was a widow, and her name, I think, was Mrs. Crumb. People were very particular to give her what she asked for if they didn't, they were afraid she might bring some calamity upon them. Once she went to a house where a woman was churning. She said to her in a thin, quick voice, "Churn away, churn away, churn away. Your butter'll come pretty soon." And it didn't come at all. At another time, she went into Mrs. Throop's house, where in the large open fireplace were many hot coals and a big back log burning. Mrs. Throop was standing before this with a string of gold beads around her neck, which she happened to be playing with. The old witch said to her, "Take care your beads, take care your beads, take care your beads. You won't get any good from 'em a good while." Just at that instant, the string broke and the beads all fell into the fire. Mrs. Throop sprang to save them, but the old woman said, scratch away, you won't get 'em out." And she didn't save one of them. Sometimes when a man was milking, she would come along and say, "Milk away, milk away, milk away," and the cows would all dry up. She died in 1780 or 90 or 96 and was buried in the Lind Cemetery in Willsboro. They put a stone over her grave that had no letters on it, a common field stone. But the most poisonous kind of elder grew up where she was buried and was thrifty and vigorous for over 30 years. From the place where this came out of the ground, people could see that it started from and grew out of her heart. Now, obviously, the chances of finding the grave of an alleged witch in your local cemetery are most likely pretty low to non-existent, unless you live near Salem. But imagine the graves that you could find and the stories they have to tell. And that's why we go cemetery visiting all around our area. So the next time you and your family are having a day where you want to get out, but you can't think of anything to do, why not make a stop at your local cemeteries and see what cool stories you all can find?
Yeah, and then you can go home and start researching these people.
Yeah.
And who knows where it'll take you.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you go back far enough, especially in our area, you see all these names on the gravestones where you're like, oh, well, that road is named after them, or this road was named after this family, and you can learn so much about your history.
After the founding fathers and then the people that founded that territory or were big names in that little community at the time.
Right, if they donated a lot of money or they started a library or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love cemeteries.
I know.
Can't go there enough.
Except after dark, you're not allowed.
Yeah, you're not supposed to.
Well, they close the gates sometimes. I wouldn't want to be trapped in the cemetery where I have to call somebody and say, hey, can you please let us...
jump the fence.
Yeah, but we drive there. We're not going to leave the car behind. I stumped you, didn't I? Or are you thinking I'm so stupid you don't know what to say?
I would just park outside the cemetery if I know I was going to the cemetery late, you know?
This is true.
So once again, go check out your local cemeteries. And we'll be right back after this quick Who'da Thunk It?
Hey, did you know? In August of 1474, the people of Basel, Switzerland, gathered for a rather exciting execution. Another instrument of the devil was about to be burned at the stake. At the trial a few days before, the prosecutor argued that, quote, it was not a case of the defendant making a compact with the devil, but that Satan had actually entered into them. The public defender argued that, quote, no evil animus had been proved and that no harm had come to either man or beast. The accused was found guilty nonetheless. The execution was conducted with, quote, great solemnity as would have been observed in the consigning of a heretic to the flames. So who was the accused and what had he done? Well, it was a rooster, and he had laid an egg. Who'd have thunk it?
All right, we are back from the break, and I'm going to tell all you fellow wanderers out there about the Red Garter Inn in Williams, Arizona, because it's a pretty cool place, offering 4 rooms with names like Big Bertha, Beth's Gal, and the Madam. It definitely leans into the building's history in a major way. Each room incorporates a color scheme and decor that harkens back to the days of the Wild West. Downstairs on the first floor is the Grand Canyon Coffee and Cafe. Owned and operated by John Holst since 1979, the Red Garter Inn is totally unique. And it's allegedly haunted, of course. Williams, Arizona was founded in 1881 and named after William Shirley, also known as Old Bill. Old Bill is a famous trapper, trader, scout, and mountain man who has a mountain named after him. About an hour from the Grand Canyon's south rim, it's a good place to stay overnight if you're either coming or going to the national park. And for a long time, the Red Garter Inn catered to travelers on Route 66, but I'll get into that in a little bit. According to the official Red Garter Inn website, a German merchant, tailor, named August Tetzlaff, arrived in Williams around 1895. 2 years later, he built a 2-story yellow brick Victorian Romanesque-style building directly across from the Grand Canyon Railway Station with the specific plan of running a saloon and bordello. Tetzlaff put a lot of thought into the building's design. For example, he included a cork subfloor as a soundproofing measure and an enclosed staircase leading from the street to the second floor. An interior staircase was so steep that it was nicknamed the Cowboy's Endurance Test. A 2-story outhouse was added to the back of the building so patrons wouldn't have to navigate the stairs until they were ready to leave. The bordello itself was also planned out in a strategic way. First, there was a central parlor that included a wood stove and couches. To the right was the Madam's Suite, situated so that she could always hear the comings and goings of her girls and the patrons. A buzzer was placed under the 3rd tread at the base of the stairs to ensure that no one could ever sneak by. The newest girls would operate out of the 4 cribs, or small 10 by 10 foot rooms that included a bed, an armoire, a table, and chairs. The best gals, or the ones that had been there the longest, each had a larger room at the front of the house. These included windows that overlooked the street, so they could feel free to go outside, lean over the railings, and call down to the street. Initially, Tetzlaff leased the downstairs saloon to Michael Renake. After a year, Renake sublet the back 2 rooms and 32 feet of the backyard to Fong Chi and Kim Ki. Fong and Kim were Chinese railroad workers who operated a chop house and a restaurant in the space. It had a lean-to barbecue shed, an outhouse, and an opium den. According to Legends of America, the local sheriff was called out so often to investigate murder cases that a local garbage collector was lowered into the cesspool to look for bodies. He didn't find anything, and neither did the sheriff. In fact, despite the numerous calls, no bodies of murder victims were ever found there. In 1901, a fire destroyed Tetzlaff's tailor shop and the outbuildings owned by Chi and Ki. In fact, several buildings on the street were gutted. However, the saloon and bordello suffered some damage and had to be rebuilt. The brothel continued to operate despite Arizona outlawing prostitution in 1907. The saloon shut down during Prohibition, and the space was leased by Indian scout and wagon driver Longino Mora. By the age of 80, Mora was married to his fifth wife, Clara, who gave birth to his 25th child. When his youngest, Carmina, was born, his oldest was 60.
Wow.
Yep. Mora supported his family by running a small restaurant in the front of the building and running an illegal bootlegging operation out of the back. The bordello, as I had mentioned, had been continuing to operate. Mora's daughter Carmina once commented on how beautiful the ladies smelled. Eventually, one of Mora's sons took over the saloon, and allegedly there was some sort of incident where a bordello patron was stabbed on the stairs leading up to the bordella itself. He stumbled back down and died on the sidewalk. Now, at this point, Williams authorities put an end to the bordella business. In the 1930s and 40s, Route 66 travelers passed by the property, and a man named Rod Graves purchased the former saloon. He named it the Grand Canyon Tavern. Now, at some point in the 40s or 50s, the Santa Fe Railroad took over the building and turned it into a Home Supply, which was the company store where railroad employees were encouraged to buy their groceries and clothing. Store managers lived on the second floor, and some of the rooms were rented out to travelers. But during the heyday of Route 66, the Red Garter Inn, which wasn't called that yet, was a good spot for travelers to grab a room for the night on their way to Disneyland. John Holst bought the building in 1979, while the first floor was being used by some local service stations as a warehouse, and the second-story rooms were still being rented to motorists. He remodeled the first floor into a barbecue joint in 1984. Thinking that Williams would not be bypassed by the brand new Route 40, he probably figured he'd do okay. In fact, Williams was the last town along Route 66 to be bypassed. However, it did happen on October 13, 1984. Route 66 was decommissioned in June of 1985. But Holst wasn't about to let the building be forgotten. By 1994, he had restored a good chunk of it and moved into an apartment he basically created out of 3 of the original cribs. He turned the remaining rooms into guest rooms for travelers. In 2015, he added a commercial kitchen to the original saloon and opened the Grand Canyon Coffee and Cafe. However, when guests came, some of them had some unnerving experiences. Common things seemed to be doors opening and slamming and doorknobs turning on their own. Phantom footsteps are common, as well as unexplained thunking noises throughout the building. According to hauntedplaces.org, overnight guests have reported waking up to their mattresses bouncing or being shaken. Some have had the unnerving sensation of feeling a pressure on the edge of the mattress as if someone is sitting down. And still others have claimed that they felt their arms or their hair being gently stroked. Seems like they're being kind of prepped for some fun.
Right. I know.
As for apparitions, it's not clear who they might be, although there was one report about a cowboy being spotted, which I guess one could speculate that it was the cowboy who was stabbed on the stairs. Although, I gotta say, like I do in many of our episodes, that I couldn't find any details about it. But I did come across the statement in several places that the murder really did happen, and it really was the reason that local authorities shut down the brothel. But the most often seen apparition at the Red Garter Inn is known as Eva, although no one really knows if that's her actual name. Eva is described as a young Hispanic woman with long dark hair, wearing a white nightgown. She's apparently been seen in the Best Gals room, although there's no historical evidence that Eva was even a brothel worker. Although owner John Holst has said that the tales of ghostly happenings have been, quote, greatly exaggerated. But he does apparently enjoy showing a specific photograph to guests, one that is kind of weird. The photo, which you can find on the internet, was taken in 1934. On the right is an older Longino Mora, his much younger wife Clara, and their daughter Carmina. Mora is wearing a plaid shirt, a jaunty little hat, and is holding a pool stick, because right beside him is a pool table. All three of their expressions are rather unremarkable. None of them are smiling, but it's as if someone asked them to pose for the picture, and it's cutting into their busy day to accommodate the photographer. But on the other side of the pool table, dressed in all black, is a smiling, pretty young woman with long, straight, dark hair. She appears absolutely joyful in that moment, posing for the camera. Now, I gotta say, after looking at this picture, she looks totally out of place to me.
Completely out of place.
Like she doesn't even belong in that time period when I looked at her.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Now, I suppose that it wouldn't be all that unusual, although the woman does oddly look out of place. What really catches people's interest, and John Holst's apparently, is that behind the woman, about 5 feet away, is a very large piece of furniture with a very large mirror. And yet, there is absolutely no reflection of the woman in black whatsoever. Now, based on where she's standing and the angle and the size of the mirror, it seems as though there should be a reflection of the side of her face, at the very least. Now, I'm personally not totally convinced that this is true. And if the piece of furniture still exists, then I would love to see someone recreate the photo to either debunk or confirm it. But until then, it remains a pretty odd photo, and one that people wonder is of Eva's ghost.
I looked at it for quite a while, and I'm not sure if her reflection would be in the mirror based on, because it's hard to tell how far away the mirror really is, and if the mirror goes all the way across or if there's a piece of wood down the middle that divides it.
Well, from what I'm seeing in this photo, it seems like her reflection should be there a bit, but definitely behind her because it seems like there's some light there.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, this photo is just mind-boggling because she looks like she's probably from the 80s.
I know. She does not look like she's in the right time period.
Not at all. But Beth will post that on our Facebook page so you can all take a look at it, see what you think. But with all that said, even if the Red Garter Inn is only slightly haunted, it only takes a disembodied voice or the unnerving feeling of being touched by something that you can't see to make a hotel stay unforgettable. And even if you don't have a paranormal experience there, the history, the ambiance, and the baked goods should be enough to make your stay pretty pleasant.
Right. I love that it used to be on Route 66, and I love that people along Route 66 are trying to bring a lot of those places back.
I can't believe that Route 66 was decommissioned in 1984. I thought it was much before that because I've always fantasized about traveling down Route 66.
Mm-hmm.
I could see myself back then in my 1973 Barracuda traveling down Route 66, stopping at all the little restaurants and bars, having a great old time.
I know. Well, we could still do it. You just have to travel a little further between places.
Yeah. It's just not the same anymore.
No.
Kind of missed out.
Yeah. Oh, well.
But who knows? Maybe some of our listeners have.
Yeah.
We've got listeners of all ages.
All over the country and other countries.
Yeah. And if you've been down Route 66 and you've got some photos of it, I want to see them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you have it. Beth's story and my story. The Red Garter Inn. What were you talking about, Beth? Oh, yes. Cemeteries and picnics and frolicking amongst the gravestones.
I was talking more specifically about strange gravestones, but yeah, picnicking as well.
You know, I wonder how many babies were conceived in the graveyard back then.
I don't know. There has to be some sort of saying about it, I'm sure. You know, all the adages and sayings that people had.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was one about conceiving in the cemetery.
Oh, I'm going to look that up next. Well, with that said, I'm off to go research my new thought. Who knows what I'll find?
Your new thought. Like you had an old thought and it was in your head for a long time and now you have a new thought.
I'm having a rough day. As you know, for some reason, I've been in a brain fog all day and I think it's the barometric pressure.
It probably is, because so have I. We just haven't talked about it.
I know. It's rather strange.
I know.
Well, join us again next week for an all-new episode of Where Our Minds Wander.
See you soon. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to traveling with you again to the places where our minds wander.
If you like what you heard, please take a moment and provide us with a 5-star rating and a comment on your favorite listening platform. It really helps us move up the list and become more visible on the podcast charts so new people can find us.
And thank you all for your continued support.
See you next week for an all-new episode.